Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I'm a woman on a mission to help you get the Zettelkasten of your dreams on your work table beside you. Well, we are finally into the third phase, analytical reading itself, and we are on step 1 of that phase. In case you're just joining us, we're following along with How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler and Charles Van Doren, and we're actually doing all of the steps and stages of analytical reading where we each pick a book that we've been wanting to read deeply, and we're following all those steps together. The book I'm using is Hold On, You Lost Me by Bernice McCarthy and Janine O'Neill Blackwell. And this is a book on training that takes into account different learning styles. Well, we're going to finally dive into the first step of the analytical reading itself. So come on over to the down-facing camera and let's see what's involved in that first step. Okay, so here we are in our familiar ring of bib cards on how to read a book, and we have gotten all the way over here to analytical reading stage 1, where we're going to classify the book, find out what kind of a book it is, and what is the book's subject matter. Adler devotes all of part 3 to giving us specialized rules that are going to help us read different kinds of books. How to read practical books, how to read imaginative literature, suggestions for reading stories, plays, and poems, how to read history, how to read science and mathematics, how to read philosophy, how to read social science. So the approach that I take based on the kind of book that I'm reading might not be exactly the same as the approach that you will take based on the kind of book that you're reading. So it turns out that Hold On, You Lost Me is an eminently practical book. It's a very much of a how-to book. Its subject matter is creating effective training courses. It's a how-to book. Very, very rules-based, very practical. And so that means that going forward, to get the most out of this kind of a book, I'm going to have to take Adler's rules and then take a look at chapter 13, where he talks about how to read practical books, and narrow down some of those rules from the very general way in which Adler initially states them to the more specific rules as they apply to a how-to book. You may be in a different position depending on which kind of book you've chosen to read. But in either case, we're going to be focusing in part 3 here and answering the general questions that come up in how to analytically read a book, but having some extra help specific to the type of book we're reading. So tonight's was really quite simple. We merely had to identify the kind of a book that we were dealing with and name the subject matter. So we get a little bit of a break tonight. Did you have an easy time or a hard time figuring out what kind of book you were dealing with? Did Adler's list in part 3 help you figure it out? Well, and what was the general subject matter? If you haven't shared what book you're working with, please do so in the comments so we can see what kind of books we're all working with. And if you want to drop in the comments what kind of book it was and what its general subject matter is, that would be fun too. So I hope you're enjoying this light and easy introduction to analytical reading. It's going to get heavier soon. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.